Sweet kid.
Okay, hang on, let's get refocused.
You got it, Skyler!
Thank you, Virginia. All right. To start things off, I would like to try to communicate how incredibly humbled I am to have this opportunity to speak to you all. This is one of the biggest moments of our lives, and I have the responsibility to share with you a piece of my wisdom to take with you as you move on to the next phase of your lives. Before I try to do that, I think we owe our teachers and staff a huge thank you. I'm impressed by how invested my teachers have been in making sure that myself and my classmates have what we need to succeed. Their dedication to each student on an individual level is what makes Terrace special. If you need proof of this, look no further than the fact that they sacrifice their day to spend their day with their fathers in order to cheer us on as we graduate. Teachers, it is my hope that your work is as rewarding for you as it has been for us all, and you should be proud of the positive impact that you have on each of us. In ASB, we learn of a psychological principle called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The way it works is that we have an ordered checklist that we have to met, an ordered checklist of needs that have to be met in order for us to reach our maximum potential. After we fulfill our survival needs, like having food in our stomachs, we can attempt to fulfill other needs. The key to understanding this idea is knowing that we can't be able to reach our peak performance until all of our needs are met. Some of you may be having a hard time focusing right now because you really need to go to the bathroom and you're just thinking, man, when is this kid gonna stop talking so I can get out of here? Now what's interesting is that after your basic needs are met, you must pursue your esteem needs before you're at your best. What this basically means is that loving yourself is actually a prerequisite for being the best person you can be. Yeah. Loving yourself isn't just something that makes your life easier, it's a necessity for a completely fulfilling life. Some of you may feel like you're unlovable. For a while I felt the same way about myself. I couldn't find the love for myself because my insecurity was standing in the way. But insecurity in proportion is good because it keeps our egos in check. But if it stops you from loving yourself, you need to brush it aside and love yourself in spite of the insecurity. The truth is, we all have insecurity and it will never go away, so our lives depend on pushing past it. If you don't truly love yourself, make it your first priority because you will never become the best version of yourself if you do not. Now, before I lose you with all the mushy L-word talk, let me explain why I think it's so crucial to practice. Self-love is important because it gives you the confidence you need to overcome challenges and pursue your goals. This is true because when you love yourself, you want what's best for yourself. I brush my teeth every day because I love myself and I know that I deserve good dental hygiene. I didn't do my homework because I thought my teachers would appreciate it. I did it for myself because I knew that it would cause me stress if I chose not to do it. If you can convince yourself that life's difficult tasks are just acts of self-love, you can change your readiness to conquer them. If you are able to love yourself, then that means that Maslow's hierarchy of needs is completed and you can give 100% of your effort to anything that you're faced with. Obtaining self-love is kind of like that scene in Captain America when he starts off all scrawny, right? And then he goes in that machine and he comes out like all buff and he's able to jump off buildings and stuff like that. So that's what self-love will feel like when you start practicing it. For Steve Rogers, he had the character of a superhero the whole time, but he was missing just that one little piece that made him Captain America. Except I guess this analogy isn't perfect because for him, the missing piece was drugs. And that's not it for us. That's not, it's self-love. But you guys get the point. When you love yourself, you're empowered to live your life to the fullest. But hang on a second, how are you supposed to live your life in the first place? There's a lot of different answers for that, so it depends on who you ask. Some of you might consider what your parents would have to say about that question. Some of you might look at what philosophers throughout history would say. Others of you might ask God what the answer is. I'm in no way qualified to answer this question, but I'm the one with the microphone, so you guys are just going to have to deal with it. As it turns out, I've explored all three of the methods that I described in order to answer the question of the meaning of life. And I gotta say, when I got to the third option, God didn't really respond right away. It was kind of messed up. He sort of just left me undelivered, so whatever. Now, I'm pretty sure God doesn't have a phone to contact me with. Although I use the pronoun he, God is definitely not a man. Nobody really knows what exactly God is, and again, I'm just some kid who's not at all qualified to speak on this. Like, I almost got a speeding ticket on my way here. Like, that's who's talking to you right now. So, anyway. And I don't really consider myself to be a religious person, but if you ask me what God is, I would tell you that God is simply the voice inside you that guides the decisions that you make. I can't know for a fact if this is the correct interpretation of God, and chances are that it's not, but it's my interpretation. And you might have a different understanding of God, and that's okay. So long as we both understand that the God that made you also made me. So when I talk about the Spirit of God, I think it's most similar to what people commonly think of as the inner conscience. The part of you that wants you to make good decisions and do good things. When you hear this voice inside of you, it's because God is living through you. God gave up a piece of himself and placed it inside you. And he put you on earth so that you could experience his creation, the universe. God did this for you and for me and for every human that has ever lived. They say that God has a plan for us. That little voice inside you is God guiding your actions so that you realize that plan. I want to challenge all of you to look inward, to recognize that voice and to have the courage to listen to what it's trying to tell you. For me, it mostly tells me to sacrifice some of my comfort and some of my energy for other people. There are countless opportunities to do so every day, and to be totally honest, I don't listen to the voice every time. A lot of the time I choose to stay comfortable and, I choose to stay comfortable and I don't sacrifice my time because I would rather use it on something that only benefits myself. This is a huge problem that I need to work on though, because not only am I ignoring God's voice, I'm also denying myself the opportunity to build a connection with another person. When I think back on the best moments of my life, they have all been because of an interaction I shared with somebody else. The times where I felt the most pride, the most fulfillment, are the times that I've successfully made a connection with another person. This is because that chemical reaction that occurs in your brain, that produces those feelings, is a product of the reward system that God created to encourage me to do good in the world. Now, the ancient Mayans had a saying. It's a phrase that they lived by, which was a piece of wisdom that they passed down through generations. And if you took ethnic studies with Ms. Grambush, you already know what it is. It's called in Lakesh. In Spanish, this means tu eres mi otro yo. In English, this means you are my other me. You are my other me. If you believe that God put a piece of himself inside of all of us, you can see how this is true. While we all come from different backgrounds, we are made from the same creator. Something beyond our understanding created the world around us, and whether you and I were put here on purpose or not, we came from the same origin. My consciousness could have just as easily been placed in your body, in your life, and your consciousness could have just as easily been placed in mine. When you consider that all humans share the same emotions and a lot of similar experiences, it is easy to see that we are all connected. The same piece of God that exists inside me also exists inside you, and that makes you an extension of myself. I've talked a lot about self-love already, and I could go on and talk about loving others, but the truth is they're the same thing. As long as I love myself, and as long as I know that you are my other me, I will love you in the exact same way. And before you roll your eyes at me, I want to acknowledge that I don't know many of you. And while I say that I love you, that doesn't mean I'm going to love some of your opinions or even have the patience to talk to you about them. But what I mean when I say that I love you is that I recognize the humanity that we share, and the Spirit of God that guides your consciousness is the same one that speaks to me every day. The reason why that voice tells me to sacrifice myself for another person is because that person is a reflection of how my life could have gone if my circumstances were different. And showing kindness to that person is therefore showing kindness to myself. My final message to the class of 2021 and everyone else is love yourself, look inward, and listen to the voice of God within you. Thank you. I'm Skyler Knight. Congratulations.